Yep. You're gonna start the presentation, Sweeky?
I mean, they're gonna go
well,
for let them do
yeah.
the intro
Oh,
stuff
sorry.
first. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just gonna do the intro slides, but if I can get this thing
Gotcha.
to cooperate with me for a change. All right, are we seeing that? Because somewhere on here on one of my windows, I should see what you're seeing, but I don't think no, you're showing my calendar, which is not helpful at all. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. So as long as you can see this slide deck, thumbs up.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So tonight we have Sweeky Satpathy, who goes by Sweeky everywhere, and Dean Faizal. Am I pronouncing that correctly as well? Okay.
Yep.
Upgrade Assistant. Talking about Upgrade Assistant in .NET Maui and the transition from Xamarin Forms to .NET Maui from .NET 6. And then this meeting will be recorded. Actually, I should have recorded it already, so let me start that now. I'm recording it. Okay, you got it? Where did I? Okay. Thanks, Tim. So it's being recorded. So when you're not speaking, please mute your microphone and consider turning off your camera once we get going, so we can. Oh, sorry. Did you do that or did I do it? Anyways, if you want to speak, raise your hand, and we'll let you come off mute to ask your question, or we have the chat window as well. And today's agenda, the welcome and announcements that we're doing now. Today's talk is being recorded and will be available shortly within the next few days on YouTube. And I should be looking at the camera, but I'm not because I'm looking at the slide deck on another monitor. So that's bad presenter 101. So we'll do it this way. You can look at my coat rack. Sweeky Satpathy and Dean Faizal, Upgrade Assistant in .NET Maui. Let's see how a migration journey from Xamarin Forms to .NET Maui looks like. Well, they're going to talk about the Upgrade Assistant from .NET that's going to, from .NET Maui, kickstart the migration journey and show you the tools that work best for you, discuss different migration paths possible, and answer any questions. And here's the board of Orlando. Wait, am I not sharing anymore? I believe I kicked out somehow, so I apologize. So here's the board of let me switch screens. I really need to rehearse this stuff. I apologize. One Tug, Orlando Code Camp Board, Santosh Hari, myself, Tim Lantine's on there, Todd Littlejohn, Tanner Rowe, who are not on the call unless I checked, and member at large, Brian Mishler, who has helped us in the past. Tim has finally fixed the links so that these, if you go to our onetug.net site, and all the sublinks point to our different resources. And our email is board@onetug.net if you need to get a hold of us that way. Upcoming meetup, we have Sam Basu doing mobile and desktop apps with Blazor on October 14th. And we don't currently have a monthly sponsor, but to sponsor a meeting, contact us at board@onetug.net. All right, and then we usually open the floor if anybody's got any announcements. They're looking to hire, they worked on an open source project, something, meaningful to the community. If anybody wants to raise their hand or come off mute at this time. I'm not hearing anything, if I can find the right screen. Okay, so we'll continue. All right, so we have Sweeky's bio. She's a senior software engineer and Lego builder, although I'm questioning whether Lego builder is an official part of your title or just an avid hobby. But she can talk all about that at Microsoft. But if it is, great. Even another reason to work at Microsoft. She's on a mission to preach best practices in mobile app development to the world, to make testing cool again. Her talk at the last Xamarin Developer Summit is definitely worth hunting down, talking about the page object model and testing in mobile development. Her passions for programming, Lego, music, and food have taken her from Mumbai to San Francisco with stops in Dubai and Boston along the way. Here's her Twitter, LinkedIn, and website, which is in the meetup announcement. Dean Faizal does not have Lego Builder in his title, but he's part of the dev div at Microsoft and is also a senior software engineer. He's a frequent partner in crime to Sweeky. Wait, what crime? We may have to hear about that later. In spreading the word of best practices in client app development. As a software engineer with the mobile customer advisory team at Microsoft, he primarily engages with development teams to figure out patterns and technologies that will empower them for success. Dean specializes in cross-platform mobile development, but enjoys all technologies that involve crafting user interactions and defining digital user experiences. His Twitter is at Dean Faizal, and his LinkedIn is there as well. And I think that's it. So I think I will turn it off to you guys as long as I find the right window and am able to unshare. For some reason, my windows are not cooperating with me. Okay. Okay. That's not working. Somebody help me. I am on the wrong. There we are. There's all those faces. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm stopping sharing now. Hopefully, I've got all the bad mojo out, and I'll leave it to you.
No worries. Dean, do you want me to start? Am I sharing?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so
hold on, sorry.
welcome.
Let me move. Yep, there you go.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Andy, for the great intro. Thanks to everyone for having us here. Today I'm opening for Sweeky, and we're talking about the Upgrade Assistant and .NET Maui. So with .NET Maui, we really wanted to help the user story of migrating your Forms app to the new technology, right? So first, we're going to demo how to do it manually by hand. And then Sweeky, I'll hand it off to Sweeky, and she'll show how to use the Upgrade Assistant tool, which is a lot smoother.
Asterisk attached to that. Yeah. Okay, hold on. There we go. Yeah.
Yep,
I put in an
us.
intro slide. That's us. But we had an awesome intro already, so I don't know what more we can add.
Can't top that, right?
No, can't top that. Yeah, so we do work in the customer advisory team. Dean had a much better intro than I did. I just realized. Where you'll frequently see us and our team members turn up in the Xamarin podcast or in the well, not Xamarin anymore. So it's the .NET Maui podcast and the .NET Customer Showcase. So definitely go check that out. See all the cool stuff our customers are doing. I'm sorry. Go next. Yes. Okay.
Yep. So this is manual migration to Maui. So for this session, we kind of wanted to show a simple story of porting a form sample or porting a Forms app to Maui. So we chose one of the form samples in the official Xamarin Form Samples repo. So this is the shapes demos. It just kind of renders some shapes to show the different shapes that are in forms that you can do. And then, yeah, let's just go on right to it. So here I have the Forms app. So this is the code for the Forms app. To do this by hand, first you need to install .NET 6. We included this link in the presentation. So head here for instructions. As you can see, it gets updated very frequently. Even 7 hours ago, before I last tested it, it was updated. So hopefully the demo goes well. But yeah, just refresh this page, use the latest and greatest instructions here. I won't walk through this. It's pretty straightforward. You can use the CLI tool to get .NET and then install the workloads. Just follow the instructions and it should cover everything you need to start building preview Maui apps. So I have that installed, at least the last version of it, whatever changed 7 hours ago. And here I have the forms code. So from this, this is the directory. I have the forms code. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new Maui app. So we have a fresh template, a fresh app, .NET new Maui, and I'll just name it Shapes Demos to match the existing app. And that'll create the .NET Maui app from the Maui template that's installed. And this is like the Hello World app. So I'll go ahead and change to that directory and open it in Visual Studio Code. So this is the shapes, or this is the empty template, right? So for this app in particular, we only have shared code. So inside of our forms folder, here I'll just copy the existing code that we have. So it has a lot of views, or just all the views in the app are in this views folder. I'll copy this over to the new Maui application. And then inside of VS Code, we will delete the existing main page because we already have a main page. And then change this to navigation page. And okay, so we're going to change all of the Xamarin Forms references, like the namespaces, mostly the namespaces, because all the controls are going to be moved over to Maui. So we're going to have to change this using Xamarin Forms to using Microsoft.Maui, and also in the XAML files, instead of this being forms, the forms namespace, we're going to change it to Maui. So the way I like to do it is just find and replace. That generally works. So here we will change, let's see, the namespace from forms to this. So instead of it being Xamarin.com schemas 2014 forms, it's schemas.microsoft.com/.net 2021 Maui. And these instructions will all be in documentation. So we have a link to that in the slides, just because the documentation updates very frequently as the team is releasing preview builds and as anything changes. So it's best to refer there. But yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's change our forms namespace to Maui. And then we also have to do the same in our code behind. So instead of using Xamarin Forms, we change it to using Microsoft.Maui and also Microsoft.Maui.controls. So the controls are split into a separate namespace now. It's just a bit cleaner and a little bit different organization of the code. Again, all of this is on GitHub. So you can browse the Maui code on GitHub if you just want to find out like where a certain thing is in case the namespace changed. But yeah, let's go ahead and replace that. So now even in our code behind, we should have using Microsoft Maui and Microsoft Maui controls. And then we can go ahead and save everything and let's try to build it to see if there's any other issues or any other things that we need to change. So .NET build framework .NET 6.0 Android. This takes a few seconds. So some other things that we have to look out for is like I said, namespaces. And then for Xamarin Community Toolkit or like any reference NuGets. Be sure to update them to the latest ones. So here we'll see Spiral demo is still referencing forms. So let's take a look at that. Spiral demo page. So it has Xamarin forms.shapes. We definitely don't want that. So let's see what else it says. Polyline does not exist. So from preparation for this demo, I know that Polyline lives inside of Microsoft.maui.graphics. But again, or not Polyline, it was Point. No, it's Polyline. So
Hey Dean,
just,
can I
yep,
can I interrupt with a question?
go ahead.
I think you'd like to answer this. So there's a question.
Okay.
Is there no use to you? Is there no need to use Visual Studio anymore since you're using Visual Code? So Visual Studio Code. So do you want to just
Yeah, I'm just not using Visual Studio because it's not ready for Maui yet. So because the Maui workload is going to be integrated in Visual Studio, it's in kind of an awkward place with the previews ongoing. So I just use the CLI tool and just run everything from here. Yeah, that's.
Yep.
You have anything to add, Sweeky?
No, just same thing.
Yeah.
Also, it's easier to do the find and replace stuff at the moment in Visual Studio Code. It's a lot quicker. But no, yeah, it will, again, just because all of it is in preview right now, it's eventually the plan is, of course, everything will work with Visual Studio, including the awesome debug, hot reload, all of it.
Yeah, for the record, I'm not a CLI guy. I only use this out of necessity. Even for Git, I've never used a CLI, if you can believe it. Um, so yeah, fun fact. Let's keep going. Here, so I added the graphics namespace to this, and that should, well, that should fix it. Let's see. Spiral demo page, XAML CS. That is this one. Let's try to clean and try again. It doesn't like it. Shapes, demos, views. It is in graphics. Here, let's do this live, right? Let's look in the Maui repository and try to find this polyline. .NET Maui. Oops. Okay, so there's a, oh, this is in Maui. Okay, so there's Microsoft.maui.controls.shapes. I think that's the one I'm missing. So instead of Xamarin.forms.shapes, it's Microsoft Maui control shapes, and third time's the charm, right? Are there any other questions coming in, Sweeky?
So that polyline reference that you're trying, like the errors and stuff that you're trying to resolve, the question is this going to be documented at some point? Yes, this is part of how the migration journey would look like. And yes, there will be there will be proper documentation, not just our faces trying to debug this with your life. The plan is to get to actual working documentation with the proper paths and guidance.
Yes.
Again, everything is still in preview, so we're also still sort of fixing stuff around here. So yeah, but there will be
Yep.
stuff coming in. Yep.
And just to add, like in Visual Studio, when you're doing this, you just get the light bulb, right? So add
Yes.
usings, add missing usings, all that good stuff. This is very, very preview, so bear with us. So it looks like it built. We have
Woohoo!
that. Yeah. Go .NET. All right. So now we can deploy it to the device. So because I'm using CLI, I just have to start my device and connect it. And then all we do is add -t:\run. And this was the forms demo, but now this is going to build and deploy, and we'll get that Maui goodness. Yeah, so looking up namespaces, doing manual like find and replace, it's not super safe. Like if you do a typo, then it's really hard, right? So after this wraps up, we're going to move on to Sweeky with the upgrade assistant, show us how we can do everything in a breeze.
I just want to, guys, there's one question in the chat about the merge conflict. Somebody, Jim Wally heard on merge conflict that Montemagno indicated there was going to be a delay on the release. I'm not sure if that's why you shared the, okay, sorry, I was off a beat on your link. Sweeky posted a link, direct link to the, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. I was just
She
saying,
answered
did
the
I miss a
question.
question? I'm trying to like field as many questions as I can in chat.
Thanks,
I
Sweeky.
I got you. I put the link to Scott Hunter's blog post talking about the delay in the adjusted timeline. Yep.
Thanks.
Dean, you can go on. Yes.
Yeah, so that's it. This is the new Maui app, so you can see it from the Maui styles. That kind of proves it, like from the form styles to the Maui styles. But yeah, that's the app, and not everything is there yet, so you're free to explore it's still in preview. But as it gets closer, it should be a pretty straightforward migration. Yeah, and that's doing it manually.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Dean.
Yeah, no
I feel like
problem.
there's a lot of value to do it manually. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Sometimes you just want to hit a button.
Fair enough. I'm going. Do you want me to switch back to your slides so you can just walk through?
All right. Yep.
Your,
The references.
Yep. You had
Thanks.
some fun stuff in here, so okay. Okay. You had this.
Yep. So these are the instructions. But this is just for reference for this talk. But on the next slide, we have the actual references to documentation. So these are going to be the actual go-to resources. First is installing .NET 6. We looked at that. And then there's the actual migrating your app from Forms to Maui documentation. So that's going to be the latest and greatest. Anytime you try to do this, try to look at the latest documentation because it does update very frequently, or pretty frequently as we're going forward. And then, yeah, just a couple more links to building your first Maui app documentation and also the official GitHub repository. And I'll like to hand it off to Sweeky. Thanks.
Sweet. Okay. So essentially, what we wanted to demonstrate today was again just to remind everyone, everything is still in preview, but you can still have a sneak peek on what it looks like to do a migration process. So what Dean showed was kind of what at the moment it looks like to do a manual migration process. What basically I have been trying to work on is trying to automate a lot of the process to see how much of it we can just sort of just like handle, because there's a lot of, if you notice Dean doing it, there's sort of just standard repetitive steps. So we want to try and make it easy-ish as much as we can. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Everything is moving and it's not there yet, but it's getting there. So what we're planning to use is a tool that already exists. It's called the .NET Upgrade Assistant. If you haven't heard of it, or if you haven't used it before, it's an awesome tool. If you currently it currently supports migration paths already for your ASP.NET, for WinForms, for WPF, for console apps. If you're trying to migrate up to the latest Net 5 or latest Net 6, they have a lot of amazing support already built into this tool, and it's pretty popular. So essentially what we're doing is we are adding .NET Maui support to Upgrade Assistant. So what does that essentially look like? So the .NET, so the Upgrade Assistant tool itself is it's kind of just like what Dean just showed you, the whole process of, find and replace with the namespaces, adjusting any NuGet package versions, adjusting or adding any files and things like that. So the idea is we want to try and use a lot of what Upgrade Assistant does right now, and we're just like adding steps to get it all to work with .NET Maui. So certain steps that we have that work, if so, the tool is like live right now and the Maui extension is live right now. So certain things that it already does right now is under the hood, it will manage converting your Xamarin projects into SDK style CS projects. It'll handle upgrading your TFMs. It'll clean up your project files, and we'll take a look at that in a bit. It'll try its best. So the startup file is in a bit of flux right now. So right now it does add a startup file for you, but it's not the correct startup file. So I'm working on fixing that. But so basically it'll add any missing template files or what it's expecting for it to look like. It'll clean up your unwanted NuGet packages, and it will update stuff to match the latest source. So as of today, so again, like I just want to give a good disclaimer, the tool is available. You can run it against your project right now, but it does not do a complete migration. The whole idea is this is an assistant. This is not a migration. It's not a complete migration tool. It's just something that will help you get you a part of the way. And again, when I show it to you, it'll make more sense. So our current guesstimate stands is right, as of today, if you were to run it, it'll probably just go till maybe 50 to 60%. There's still a little bit of manual stuff that you have to do. So that's what the tool is right now. So oh yeah, this is the slide I meant to be on. My bad. Sorry. So certain things just to be aware of. We do have so this is not the requirement for migrating your app. This is a requirement for running Upgrade Assistant to help you do the migration. So right now, if you're trying to use Upgrade Assistant, we check that your apps need to be at a minimum of Xamarin Forms 4.8. We currently do not support migrating the UWP project. And when I say currently, I mean just as of today, it does not. In the future, these will all change. This is, like I said, the whole support for migration is in preview because the whole platform and everything is in preview. So it'll all be moving as the platform and as Maui keeps moving ahead. This will not single projectify your app. So if you've noticed, David Ottenau's weather sample and a couple of other samples out there in the wild, you will notice, and I think Dean, the migration that you did, just correct me, you did it in single project, correct? You converted it into a single project?
Correct. So from the default template, it creates a single project.
Yes. Yes. So just again, a heads up, because this might shock you maybe or not, but if you run Upgrade Assistant against your projects, it will not it will not create a single project for you. Instead, it will actually keep your head projects as is. So your app structure would essentially look exactly the same as it does right now when you open it in Visual Studio. So you'll have your Xamarin Android project and your iOS project, and you'll have a Forms project. It'll just be adjusted to work with everything that it needs to work with for .NET Maui. So someone already asked this question in the chat about native projects. We have not tested it out against Upgrade Assistant yet, and also I'm not entirely sure what the migration path for that looks like at the moment, but it is in the plans and we will be putting out more information. And of course, we will also be trying to run it against Upgrade Assistant to see how much of that we can handle for you. A couple of other things, it will, after running the Upgrade Assistant, like I said, right now, it is, like I said, it's only 50 to 60% migrated. You will definitely not be able to just open the project instantly after running the tool. You will still have to do a couple of steps similar to what Dean did, things like, update, like fixing the XAML namespaces and maybe even checking your properties. So you would, anyways, basically heads up, once you run the tool today, it's not going to. But the plan is once Maui is released and the tool is also out of, once the Maui support is out of preview, we will try and get you as close as we can. So what? Oh yeah, so just a few other tips. Just because I feel like just giving everybody a heads up. Everything is like Dean was just talking about it, and we just showed you. And you will notice as we keep talking throughout this presentation, everything is still in a bit of flux because we are still in preview land. And so please use source control or have a backup of your actual project before you start this migration process. Upgrade Assistant will also create a backup for you. So, but it just doesn't hurt in case you need to revert or check some stuff. If you do plan to use the tool and you hit any bugs, feel free to file it. I'll be the one triaging it, so you'll see my name pop up everywhere. So if you find any issues, please do report it. And like just a heads up, I just keep saying this again and again, but after you run the tool, just don't assume it's going to just open up and run. There's still a few more manual steps you have to do, and just like keep a lookout for keep a lookout on GitHub and keep a lookout on all this, like all the blogs and information out there to see how it works. So I just like dumped a bunch of information, but let's see what it actually looks like. So I'm gonna pull up. So I literally just did a fresh build to show you guys how this would look like. So this is essentially what the Upgrade Assistant tool does look like. I'm building it like hot off my machine, so you're seeing stuff I worked on today. Well, not today, maybe yesterday. But so okay, so I'm gonna get started. So I'm running this against the same sample that Dean just did. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to zoom in a bit more because I just realized this might be looking really tiny. Okay, here we go. So I'm running this against the same shapes demo that Dean just did manually. Let's see what it looks like if we try and do it with Upgrade Assistant. So I'm going to try and also do the Android project. So that's number 2. And so the tool just sort of is like sort of goes through, iterates, checks, is like, okay, this is what needs to be done. This is what's needed. Okay, so recommended path, it's going to do the forms project and then do the Android project. So that's where we're at. And I agree. Looks great. So this is essentially what happens. So now it's looking at, I was like, okay, these are the steps that need to be done. Let's get started. Let's get into it. So like I said, it does a backup. So the first step will be like, okay, I'm going to back up your project before I start doing anything. The Xamarin Forms project, if everyone remembers what the Forms project looks like, they're already in SDK style, so it doesn't need to actually do any specific conversions. That's why sort of like completes that step. So anyways, we're going to move on to adding the target frameworks, which is cool. All right. It's going to analyze and look through the NuGet packages, which is pretty funky. All right, so it's found a bunch of stuff it doesn't need. It cleans it all out. No updates needed because there weren't too many NuGet packages, looks like, which is great. All right, what else do we have next? Okay, so it is now going to adjust any CSproj properties that need to be added, removed. Okay, so next step, template files. Okay, so it's startup.cs is missing, so it adds that file for you. It's going to run a bunch of analyzers to check what needs fixing. So clearly what Dean was doing as a find and replace is it's going to try and do that automatically for you right now. So that is as many as it could find. It has applied the fixes, and I really hope it actually did it, which would be really awesome. Okay, and that's it. So that's done. Moving on. So this is completed migrating the Xamarin Forms project. Is going to start. Now the next step is going to start and do the Xamarin Android project. So some of the steps are going to feel repetitive because it's going to do the same thing all over again now for the Xamarin Android project. I would just want to maybe highlight a few more things over here. You don't have to run it specifically on the full solution file. You can run it on each separate CSproj file if that's how you want to do it, like a step-by-step upgrade. You can do it all of them together. World's your oyster. All the options are yours. So whatever you feel comfortable with. So this part is not as flashy because I literally just showed all of this to you. But this time we're going to see how it will convert it into a project style SDK. So yay. All right. So it obviously the Xamarin Android projects, if anybody remembers, those are not SDK style by default. So we're going to convert those into SDK style by default now. And sweet, it's all done. Moving on, it's going to add the Net 6 Android because this is a Xamarin Android project. So you notice it sets the TFM just for Net 6. And we do all these adjustments, like I said, because this doesn't convert it into a single project style, but it'll keep your project heads. So we make sure that we have like the way it'll do the migration is to keep everything intact. So stuff will build. Okay, so it's going to go in, do a couple more cleanups. That's good. All right, next up we have, so a bunch of project properties no longer exist, or they've mapped into different or newer project property names. So that's essentially what this step does. All right, so let's see. So there's a new main application.cs. And so it puts that template file in. And that's essentially the end because there's nothing else to do. So this is where, okay, so there's a bunch of like logging I need to turn off, but upgrade is complete. So I'm, okay, of course, Visual Studio, let's get you out of the way. So let's see what that ended up looking like. So I'm gonna pull up, okay, so this is the project. This should be, so this is the folder that we just ran this whole thing on. I just realized I should have opened this up in, there you go. Okay, so this is essentially where the backup lives. So if I go into the backup, this is the original Xamarin Forms project that was in there. This is where the migrated stuff lives. This is an, so if you know, oh, okay. Did I not zoom in this in again? I did not zoom this enough. Okay, there we go. Okay, so if you notice, there's already like there's iOS and iOS backup. This is essentially an example of what it looks like if you just do a single CS proj migration with Upgrade Assistant. So if you don't do it like the whole solution, it'll just back up that one project folder that you try to migrate. Apart from that, like if we click in, it looks the same, but it's not the same. It's really like, what's going on here, but we'll see in a bit. So actually, let's see what it looked like. So Dean did a bunch of find and replace for all of his views, right? And this is what I'm hoping. Okay, there you go. It actually did it. Huzzah! I don't know why I'm so excited. I know this will work. But there you go. So it basically handle taking care of a lot of like, you're using updates. You will notice the XAML namespace is still the same. That is because this is a feature that has not been added yet and it's coming soon. But essentially similar to how we are managing, your namespaces, we are hoping to get your XAML namespaces also updated. So this is the kind of stuff that this is what I was talking about. It gets you only 50 to 60% of the way at the moment. These are small steps over here that you still have to come in and sort of clean up manually. If you look at the CSROJ file, it's starting to look pretty familiar-ish. You have your target frameworks in here. So thanks, Dean, for putting that in the chat. TFM, so that is target frameworks. It should have everything it needs. It puts in using Maui tag. There might be a couple of other properties based on how your project is set up. You might need to copy over or map out. Again, we are still in the process of identifying how much of this we can automatically, capture and move over for you. But just something to keep in mind. As part of your migration process, there might be some stuff that you might need to sort of take care of. But yeah, so if you notice, so this is our Xamarin Forms project, and your project heads, again, will stay the same. You can look at the Android CS proj, beautiful, so small, so clean. Runtime identifiers, you might need to come in and adjust these based on what you're trying to target. The rest of it should look fairly straightforward. If you had any particular Android specific properties, again, the Android team and iOS team, if you go look at the work they're doing, you can sort of figure out where the properties map and stuff, but I wouldn't like stress too much about it because we'll be putting out an official guide. So you can take a look at that once that's ready. So I think the reason I kept the iOS one here is because I wanted to do a side-by-side because it's my favorite thing to do now. So let's see. So this is our old Xamarin Forms CS proj. And this is the new Xamarin Forms CS proj. Significant change. So we're going all the way from 141 lines to 39 lines. And also in this 39 lines, there's a couple of things that are still a little extra, which will get further cleaned up. But again, like I said, if I were to take this and open it in Visual Studio right now, it is not going to work. You, like Dean just showed you, so you can look at all of the samples available right now. Go look at our GitHub. There's a couple of things that you still need to adjust. There's like a few more manual steps. You have to go adjust those XAML lines. You may need to go register some of your handlers and things like that. So once you do complete all those steps, though, this should be good to go. You can open it and you should be able to run. And yeah, I think that's all I had. Let me see, did I have anything else in here? Yep, so a couple of things that are coming soon. It's in the pipeline, it'll be coming soon. So we're definitely adding the Xaml updates and the startup registration stuff. So like I don't know if I pulled that up, but if you notice the startup file right now that gets added in the Xamarin Forms project is just your basic template starter. It doesn't really do anything. We are trying to see if we can make it a little more smarter to see if we can pick up some stuff and do some auto registration for you. So that's coming soon. For the NuGet package, which I think is the biggest concern as part of the migration process, we are adding what we're calling an analyzer or a NuGet analyzer. So the idea being we're going to try and create a report, sort of. Let's call it a report. So it'll analyze all the NuGet packages that you currently have in your project. Stuff that definitely needs to get, which definitely automatically maps, like Xamarin Forms needs to go away, obviously, and things like that. So Xamarin Essentials will go away. We know there is a compat or there's a new package for the community toolkit. So stuff like that, we'll try and automatically make those adjustments for you. But for other packages that maybe doesn't have a Maui version, or a package that has a transitive dependency on a Xamarin Forms package, any third party or any vendor package, we'll try and create a report that you can look at just to give you like a heads up that, hey, these are the packages you will need to either manually go fix or figure out if there's a Maui equivalent already for it. Like we were talking about earlier, native project support, this has not been thoroughly tested yet, and we have to still figure this out. So we'll try and get a little bit more testing done and see if we can get a migration path with Upgrade Assistant for your native projects as well. And can we do something smart with single project? Yes, we can always do something smart with everything. But again, this is something that needs to be investigated, and it's something we'll try and see if we can do. But for right now, the plan is realistically to keep the project heads, just to make help make your migration path a little smoother. So yes, I just said like a bunch of stuff. And like similar to what Dean said, we'll try and get these slides and links shared out so you guys can refer to it. I put the link to almost all of it down there. Dean mentioned a bunch of it already as well. I just want to give a shout out to Javier. If you've not had a chance, you go check out his GitHub. He's been doing a ton of work. It's pretty amazing. If you're curious on how would a converter look like, how would a behavior look like, so he's been trying to get a bunch of different types of samples for these different edge cases, and just pretty awesome. And I would keep a lookout for this repo, which to help you figure out some other tiny bits as part of your migration process. That's it. That's all I had to share. Dean, I saw you were typing away. Were there any questions that came up? Does anyone have any other questions? I'm going to look at the questions now.
I think I addressed them. Yeah, there was a question about ASP to .NET 5.
Yes, that migration path is currently supported by Upgrade Assistant. Yes, you can check that out. The documentation page for Upgrade Assistant actually has a lot of information about it. So I would recommend checking that out. Okay, I see a question. Will NuGet package analyzers report native Maui options? I don't think so. I don't think it will have the ability to tell you that this is the replacement package. It's more realistically in the first version, it will highlight packages that need to be looked at. So we'll highlight and let you know that, hey, you have these packages in your project. You may want to go and check if the distributor or the vendor has created a Maui package. I don't think we will be able to automatically replace those for you. We'll give you a list. We'll do our best to give you a list of hey, these are the ones you may want to take a look at. Those, at least you get a heads up before you start your migration process that, hey, these are things I need to take care of.
Hey, there's someone with a hand raised. I think Adam.
So weirdly, guests don't see the chat icon in Teams. so I have to ask my question via voice. So,
problem.
Sweeky, since you are the a moonlighter of DevOps, can you tell us what the story is for a Xamarin UI test and testing in general for Maui? I've heard rumors that you're not going to bring forward Xamarin UI test and that the team currently is looking into using Appium to do their testing for Maui.
Good question. Good question. I actually am not sure about the testing. I'll have to check and get back to you. It's not something I currently have visibility into. I've been very heads down focused on Upgrade Assistant. So I'll have to get back to you about the testing portion of this. I guess what's important to remember is that at the end of the day, it will still create a iOS app and an Android app. So the testing options should be available to you and you should be able to use them. But yeah, about the whole is UI test coming forward and anything UI test related. Unfortunately, I am not directly involved in any of that. So I have to check and get back to you. But good question. But DevOps outside of that does work. I haven't updated Weather 21 yet, but I will. I wanted to get it done before the RC release, but I got a little distracted. But if you just want to see what a DevOps pipeline looks like, though, I've been trying to keep one updated and working with David's Weather 21 sample. So yeah, just keep a lookout for that. I'll try and update that again to work with all the recent bits. But yeah, that's out there. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop sharing so at least I can see Teams. Okay, there we go. Right. So I see one hand up. Is that Adam? Did you already ask your question or? Okay, I see another question in the chat. Why is .NET 6 support not considered? I am not sure exactly what you're referring to. Could you possibly for that? So .NET Maui is the .NET 6 support for Xamarin Forms. This is the whole evolution. This is what's happening right now. So it is supported. If you read Scott Hunter's okay, so I guess the terminology is maybe just a little confusing. Maybe Dean, you can explain it a little better than I am. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah, so Maui is basically moving Xamarin Forms into .NET, right? So it's using Microsoft.Maui instead of using Xamarin.Forms. So it's just basically Forms inside of .NET. And yeah, like Sweeky said, the terminology is different just so that we show like this is the next evolution of it and not just Form 6, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it is Forms. It's just a lot more tightly integrated, and it's like Sweeky showed, like the benefits are enormous. I mean, this isn't the talk for it, but like just right off the bat, having single project, supporting more platforms,
Yep.
Better performance. So these are all the reasons that it's such a big leap from Forms to Maui, but it's still Forms.
There was a question about the T-shirts, which there was an initial run to support charity, but right now it's basically you put in your email, and if they print some more, you can, and how many you would want to buy, and you can reserve shirts. But I put the link in the chat. The coffee mugs is actually a general one for Xamarin and Maui. The coffee mugs, I think, are still available, but the T-shirts are not currently available that I can see. And do we have a Nilesh, I believe, has a question? You want to come off mic and ask your question?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sweeky and Dean. Thank you for this presentation. And The reason I asked that question about, and even to David if he's listening, moving Xamarin Forms to .NET 6 before migrating to Maui SDK, right, will be a natural progression because a lot of non-form APIs that are written on application sides, they are, I'm considering to migrate them to .NET, consumer side of the integration work. And that's going to be packaged as a part of Xamarin App. So between now and, if I were to say being conservative on the thought process there, like June of 2022, we have 9 months before this baby is born, right? Until that time, why not support Xamarin Forms to get compiled against .NET 6 instead of .NET 5? And then it becomes a natural progression for the upgrade path that you demonstrated to focus, right? Or we could even start working on that as a separate branch before we make our app compatible with .NET 6 and C# 9 or 10 or whatever it comes with, right? Because we don't want all of that to be suddenly thrown on our task list at June of 2022. So anything you can enlighten me on the reasoning on why that topic is not being talked about will be great enlightenment.
Right. I wish I had something more extra to elaborate at this point. I feel like David or maybe Maddie would be much better suited to answer that question at this point. Talking about the migration path itself, though, the previews are still going to be worked on. You can always, like I said, if you want to pull up a branch in your source control and pull in the preview bits and get those to start building again .NET 6 as you're migrating your services. Awesome. So you'll also get to like try out all the new stuff. But that specific
my question is more around November. Come November when .NET 6 is GA, will it be available?
You still have the previews. This is not the .NET Maui previews will be there. They will be launched. So it's just this will not be GA in November at the same time. So like I said, if you wish, you can have a separate branch with your Xamarin code against the preview bits of Maui and see and make sure everything is working. But yes, I cannot directly answer to that in between path that you're talking about. I am not the best person to answer that. And like I said, this will be something great to ask David or Maddie or someone on that team.
Fair, but just to clear my understanding, .NET 6 is releasing in November, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Right, so it will be available in the Visual Studio 2019 stable release, and same thing on the Mac, right?
I would refer to that blog post just to be entirely sure.
So come November, will we be able to compile Xamarin Forms app against .NET 6?
You will be able to continue to compile your Xamarin apps with the tooling that we have right now. It's just you will not get a release, like you'll not get a GA version of .NET 6 Maui. That's it. That's the difference right there.
Fair enough. So Maui as a package won't be available, but .NET 6 runtime can the Xamarin Forms app be compiled against the .NET?
It should continue to work for you as is. Your Xamarin workloads, I mean, your Xamarin stuff will not break. Yes.
And is in the upgrade path, have you tested that?
I have not right now. We have not tried doing any mix and match situations. So I, again, cannot answer that. We're in very early stages because it all still in preview-ish bits at the moment. So something that's coming up, we will try it out and hopefully have some good documentation and explanations on how to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks, David. Thanks, B.
I saw a couple of questions in chat and I see a couple of hands raised. Okay, I saw the hand raise go away, but I thought it was Blounty. I don't know if you want to still chime in, but feel free. Let's see. Does migration handle target custom renderers? At the moment, it does not. It is something we're investigating to see if we can possibly add it to the upgrade assistant. It's something that'll be probably a little later on. We want to look at just some basic migration paths initially, and then, but we are looking at trying to get the custom renderers and then handlers in at least an upgrade assistant. But like I said, Javier's repo though is a great resource because he's actually showing you how it would look like. So if you are doing a manual migration like Dean showed you. It's not that hard to do. It's just like it'll just take a little bit of time if you have a really big project. Will we be able to write Xamarin Maui in VS Code? I do not know that. I don't know. Dean, what do you know if we can write Maui stuff in VS Code? You did it right now, I guess.
Yeah, you can write anything in VS Code if it's text, right?
Yeah.
If you notice, I still had to build with like CLI. So I don't think there's tooling for just like debugging in VS Code out of the box. So I was using CLI essentially and just VS Code as the editor. Like I could have used Notepad or anything else, but it doesn't currently support Maui.
Also, I see Blounty's raised his hand. So Blounty is Alex Blount, for those who do not know. He's our manager and he's hanging out here. So he can maybe answer some questions.
Yeah, go on in.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can now.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify on the .NET 6 question. So after November, Xamarin Forms and Xamarin will not be supported by .NET 6. So you won't be able to compile your Xamarin Forms or your Xamarin application against .NET 6. So you will have to continue using the existing tooling until we get a release of both kind of the new version of Xamarin and .NET Maui out next year. So I just wanted to clarify that and just see if there are any questions after that. But yeah, that's kind of the line from the product team on that question.
But what's the reasoning on that, Dante? I mean, we'd like to. I want to know what's the.
Yeah.
Because if I'm building my supporting API integration layer using .NET 6, which is going to be packaged in the bundle, why not Xamarin Forms also get compiled against .NET 6?
So, I mean, the reasoning behind it is that it would actually take quite a lot of work, and it requires moving the entire underlying runtime over to .NET 6, which is going to be happening with the full GA release. So the amount of work it would actually take to kind of get that working and have this hybrid type of mode, it would kind of take away from getting Maui complete. So really, it's kind of having that separation. The actual, as Sweeky mentioned, kind of the actual, hey, we want to get this upgraded as soon as possible. You can definitely do that with previews. So you can start upgrading your services and use the preview bits. But it was just kind of having that deep separation. So there's not a mix up between, oh, why is this not working when this is working? And so
no, but this decision forces a non-UI work to be continued in .NET 5, right?
Well, yeah. Well, so just to clarify, so Xamarin doesn't run on .NET 5 either. So you can't compile a Xamarin application against .NET 5. So it's obviously it's either mono, but it conforms with Net Standard. So anything that you build that conforms with Net Standard is going to run anyway. So it's not like when you get to the point where you want to move to Net 6, there's going to be a bunch of work you need to do. Everything that you have existing will continue to work when you do move to Net 6. So in terms of the move from mono to Net 6, that work isn't going to be a large amount of work. As kind of Sweeky and Dean have shown you, most of that is done by the upgrade assistant when you actually do that migration. So it doesn't give you a great deal of value add to have Xamarin Forms and Xamarin working in Net 6 ahead of .NET Maui.
That's just the UI part of the mobile app. I'm talking about non-UI part of the mobile app, which is written in .NET runtime. Anyway, we can Sweeky, I can talk to you offline. Thanks.
Sure. And I think Alice is having some internet issues. I did see another hand raised, so I'm just gonna switch over to Mike, and then we can come back if you have any more follow-up questions.
Hi, so I have a question. So can you give any advice for organizations who are building new apps today as we speak? Because there's always tricky situation when we're in this technology transition period, right? So for example, personally, I'm founding a SaaS app which requires a mobile app. And the app itself, it's not going to be a core, but more of a companion kind of a mobile app. But it's still, we have to choose, right, to build this one with Xamarin Forms or with Maui today. And so I hired a developer, and he is a veteran developer for Xamarin. And eventually he convinced me to stick to Xamarin Forms for now, obviously because, Maui is not GA, it's brand new technology, not so much documentation, and he doesn't want to deal with having to, explore Maui at the same time as dealing with business logic, and that makes sense. So we did choose that route. But on the other hand, as a business owner, it feels kind of bad to commit to a technology that going to be, officially EOL in a few months. So as we build this app right now with Xamarin Forms, can you give us some advice on what we can do preemptively to ensure that we can migrate to Maui in a relatively straightforward, smooth, kind of an easy way forward? Yeah.
I think so first off, Xamarin is not going to disappear as soon as Maui arrives. There is a long-term plan, like there is a planned support, and David has a blog post out that explains the timelines on how long Xamarin will be supported. So that's definitely not just going to disappear. But as for making your migration easy, if you are currently using Xamarin Forms app, my advice would be to get on the latest and greatest if you can. It will definitely, so being on the latest version of Xamarin Forms, using the latest everything, if your app is running well on the latest version of things, it should make your life a lot easier to then just quickly migrate over to Maui.
So we are, in that we are definitely, of course, using the latest version of Xamarin Forms, the 5, right? And the runtime library is going to be .NET Standard 2.0, which Jeff just described. So on the backend codes, we don't probably going to be expecting problem just changing that C# code from .NET Standard to .NET 6. So that part should be straightforward. But the UI stuff, I guess, we have these upgraded systems and all these tools that you'll be releasing. So I guess when the time comes, this is a new app written from the ground up, you think you do not foresee significant problems doing that migration?
No, like I said, we're going to try and make Upgrade Assistant do as much of the work as we can. It will not do all of it. You still have to do a little bit of manual adjustments, but we'll try and make it do as much as we can. And there'll be tons of documentation and blogs. So we're hoping to make the migration process as clear and as smooth as possible. Yep.
And will this Maui have the kind of like built-in dependency injection kind of full-blown support, like say a ASP.NET Core Blazor kind of a project where we can have all these service registries and all that stuff, so to basically use it with our existing infrastructure?
Yes, there is I think the PR just got merged, right? I don't know, Dean, if you were tracking that, but there is they are adding I'm pretty sure someone tweeted about it the other day. I think it was Moths. The whole dependency injection, the service thing. There's I'm completely blanking right now, but if you go check the Maui repository, just look at the last few PRs. In one of them, there's actually exactly what you just asked. They just put in some logic in the system right now, so you can take a look at that.
Thank you. That sounds good.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks for the question. All right, I'm going to switch back over to chat. I don't see any more hands up. Are there any other questions?
I'll ask one if my mic comes off. How much candy did you have before the presentation tonight? Because you're infamous for being a regular candy consumer and taking bribes in candy. From what I do
take bribes in candy, but I did not have too much today. I was it was more just stressing out because Dean's demo was like dying a bit before we started. But apart from that, it was okay. Not too much of candy. Could have had more. But yes, I'm waiting for David to bribe me with the rest of my candy, so I finish the rest of his DevOps work for him. So if there is a delay in seeing any new Weather 21, DevOps related updates, it's probably him. So you can just go yell at him.
Got that, everybody? If you want to see Weather 21, the demo app, did we put the link to that in the chat?
Did not. Let me try and find it.
But yeah, that is the way to get things done, at least in that part of the a part of Microsoft, is to bribe Sweeky with candy.
Right.
There's a question about the, let's see. I thought I saw a question about the t-shirt again, but oh no, that was an old question. But yeah, there's the Weather 21 demo app, which you may have seen from different presentations.
Oh, I see a hand up. Yeah, just unmute yourself and ask away. Yep.
I just wanted to be polite. All right. Not to say anyone else wasn't. I was curious if you've done any Tesla migration with MVVM Cross or Prism.forms.
Good question. No, I have not. If someone wants to volunteer and try it and let me know, I will be very happy. Yeah, I cannot think of any project I've run with. Dean, have you run with it? No, right? I don't think so. Have you run the tool against any?
I haven't, no. We'd have to look at, for third parties, we'd have to look at their messaging.
Yeah, it's honestly like we're trying to like I was talking about, there's still a couple of just like baseline features we're still adding to Upgrade Assistant. So, getting the XAML namespace stuff done and the NuGet analyzer stuff done, that's a little bit more higher priority personally for me. I'd say at least once we have like the base tool running and we're happy with it, I guess then we can start expanding our tests against, more complicated projects. So yeah. Oh, sweet. They do have. Oh, yeah, that's what I remember seeing. Yeah, them talking about this. Yeah, they do. They are working on a Prism Maui NuGet. So, there will definitely be a path to migrate. It's just I'm not sure entirely how much of it Upgrade Assistant can handle at the moment. I have not tried it against it. So, yeah.
Another question, if people think of them, is have you guys done anything with the MVU version of Maui? Any testing on your own? I know James Clancy's, that all came from Comet and all the rest of that, at least the original idea. I'm assuming that's in parallel with everything else that's going on with Maui, for those who want to try that other form of architecture.
It's there. Clancy's been doing some work against it to get it to run with Maui. I know I did see a couple of commits from him a few weeks ago. Just keep an eye out on the repo. Clancy is working on it. You'll see him pop up every now and then, put in a couple, add in some more code. So it's there. It's happening. If you're curious, it's James Clancy's comment. It's actually in the .NET repo now, if I'm remembering right. You can find that. Yep, there you go. Yep, he has some. He's been working on it. I see the last commit was 7 days ago. So if you're curious to follow, I'm not sure if he's been streaming as often as he used to, but he is definitely still working on Comet and adding the Net6 support to it. Yep.
Great, thanks.
Sweeky, is there anything going to change for the CI/CD effort on Azure DevOps side?
It shouldn't too much. It should all build with the .NET tool, and that should just come in pre-installed. You'll have to just be careful to make sure you have the workloads installed to build, and you can. So right now, I don't know if there are already like tasks made for it already. That's what I haven't checked, but you can always write a build script and use the steps that Dean had shown in that doc. So essentially, it's all just using the .NET tool now. In theory, you should be able to just use the .NET tool, install your workloads, install, make sure Net6 is installed, and that should be it. There shouldn't be too many changes to your DevOps process. Yeah.
Thank you.
It should be a lot better personally, because you don't have to like jump between MS Build and .NET anymore. It'll just all be the one .NET tool. So it'll just be make sure you have .NET, you're using the correct version of .NET 6, then install all your workloads. You can also, by the way, use Maui check, Rhett's Maui check to install the workloads if you want to. He does have a CI mode built into that, so it just like non-interactively install stuff for you. So I would still prefer going via the .NET workload, but you can use Maui check if you want. So that step would just be to make sure all your workloads are on installed, and that's it. You just need net6, you need workloads, and that should get your apps building. The rest of the stuff is per platform anyways. If you're pushing it to the test right and stuff, so those tasks should stay the same. But yeah, for the first bit, yeah, just like change just the order of it, and the task itself would change just a little bit. I think it'll be nicer. It'll just be all one .NET tool. That's it.
All right. Is there anyone else, or are we getting towards the end? Anyone want to come off and do a song and dance number? Any sort of variety to the spice to the end of our meeting?
Is the package for the dual screen changing quite a lot?
I wouldn't know. I'm not the person to ask that. I'd say tweet at Surface Duo and they'll let you know. Surface Duo SDK, I think that's what their Twitter handle is now. But yeah, it's better asked to that team.
Tim, Santosh, anything else you want to ask or say to wrap up?
I don't think so, other than thank you. This has been a great session. Lots of great questions. Appreciate those, and lots of great answers.
Absolutely. Santosh, you on?
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, fantastic
Okay.
session. Very informative. Thank you very much.
Yes, and we'd love to have you back anytime, for another follow-up when things are released, or, maybe Code Camp, whether we do it virtually or Orlando Code Camp virtually or not next time. We still don't know yet because, everything. But yeah, this was great. Thank you very much and adding your buddy to do it, to come along so you could do it together. And I forgot Blunty, so
Yeah, I'm just the opener. I open for Sweeky now.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully one day I'll have my own talks.
You've got your set down so you can.
Yep, I'm the hype man. I just hype
Okay,
you guys
there you
up
go.
with Sweeky.
No, thank you for having us. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks
Yep.
so much. This is fun. Thanks for all the great questions.
Yep.
All right, thanks everybody. Bye.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.